Justice Augustine Pasi, Mr. Satnam Singh Sandhu, the organizers of this event, and to everyone here. What a beautiful campus. Look at the greens around you. Look at the infrastructure which has been created. All this hardware is here. The software is you students and the professors who will guide you. Like you need both software and hardware to work together, similarly, on an environmental issue, development and environment have to go hand in hand. Countries have to go hand in hand. In this huge universe, our Earth is a small speck. It's a very important speck for us. It's a speck on which there are millions of species living. Somehow we feel this Earth is meant only for us. And that's the fundamental problem. Strong animals kill the weaker animals for food. We kill for the fun of it. We not only kill the other species, we kill people of the same species. We are seeing this around. And that's a matter of concern. Personally speaking, I thought that this 2 years of difficult COVID times should have taught the human race the importance of living in symphony, in sympathy with other beings, being less selfish. I think I'm being proved wrong. My thought process is wrong because something different is going around the world. And we are facing a more self-centered species. So it's a matter of introspection, it's a matter of thought, how we can walk hand in hand, because unless we leave at least a better earth than what it is today in the next 15 years, we owe a lot of apology to the large number of people who are sitting here. Late Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi once mused, what we are doing to the forest, to the world, is but a mirror reflection of what we are doing to ourselves and to one another. In this global environmental puzzle, which has grown increasingly complex and momentous in the flip side of this current 21st century, India plays an important role. It plays an important role because with 2.4% of the world's land, India houses close to 20% of the world's population, something which Brother Messi mentioned. It has 8% of all the recorded species. A big segment of Indian populace, flora, fauna, hinge on the climate sensitivity. Sectors like agriculture and forestry for the livelihood. You just heard the existential issue which Justice Wells mentioned in a beautiful place called Hawaii. A place I had an opportunity to visit as a child, not after that, but I remember it extremely well. I would like to emphasize to the importance of the changes which are taking place, of temperature change. You see it every day. We are seeing it in the current scene today of how the summer has hit us. And you are lucky in Chandigarh where your levels of pollution are still within the zone of green. I come from a city where it is crossed red many times back. A glance through the ancient Indian history will show us that the movers and shakers of our ancient communities were conscious of this environmental protection and enabled the same through punitive legal provisions, which also regulating people's habits and behaviors. Many ancient texts like the Vedas, the Upanishads, the epics and the Purans are a reflection of that. The most cherished discourse of politics in ancient India, as early during the 3rd century BC by Kautilya, entitled the Arthashastras, elucidated the provisions meant to regulate the people's activities in a number of environmental related aspects. But then law must be followed. Law for the sake of existence is not important. And somewhere I think we have started getting into a habit of enjoying how to beat the law rather than follow the law. Maybe many reasons for it. In the modern times, we are witness the emergence of the environmental jurisprudence and the legal provisions. Since the 19th century, in the British philosopher Andrew Dobson, in his book Justice and Environment, discussed the significance of creating balance between distributive justice and environmental sustainability. He emphasized that the environmentalism should be considered as a distinct political ideology, and many countries have the green movements. And thus he entreated appropriate legislations for green change. The Industrial Revolution and the impact of its activities on the natural resources and the environment encouraged and developed the developing nations to establish an arena on environmental laws. But we are past that stage of creating laws alone. We have a problem of an existential threat which I think we are somewhere not adept at handling at present. And often the problem arises because countries blame each other for it. The more developed countries will say, well, you, the less developed ones, are who are creating the pollution. The less developed countries will tell them, look, you did this so many years ago and I've reached this stage only by polluting, and now you don't want to pay for what you did. But within this battle, what is occurring is that each is throwing the burden on the other without acknowledging that if we have to coexist, and I don't think so far we've found another planet where we can go and habitate ourselves, then something must be done to walk hand in hand rather than destroy each other. The Declaration of the United Nations Conference on Human Environment, or commonly known as the Stockholm Declaration, was the modern world's gateway towards environment. Question is, how much have we walked since then? Or we just keep walking back and forth? Over the time, the courts, both globally and locally, have also engaged with diverse range of environmental issues with various frequency of cases. And Justice Swatantra Kumar presided over that tribunal in the context of India, an extremely important tribunal. But often the executive thinks that these interludes by the judiciary impede the development process. That's why I kept on saying the significance of the balance between the two. You need development for upgradation of the human species and the country, but if there is no environment, there will be no development in the longer term perspective. Substantive innovations encompass decisions which the courts create, and the scientists and the larger fields help us in this. The role of the judiciary in this expanding ambit of the aforesaid green constitution evolved through the golden age of these environmental litigations. I would not like to say and repeat the cases which have been done, but from issues which were mentioned like quarrying. Can you stop quarrying completely? No, you need it for development. But then when you keep on cheating on what you have been licensed to do, a stage comes when a blanket ban is imposed. And then the problem is of the employment generation it does, problem is of development work it does. So the fundamental problem which arises is we don't adhere to the norms or laws. One issue I do believe we have is sometimes our unrealistic laws. So a lot of thought has to be given to how law is evolved, law does so. There must be study of the law and not rushed in hurry. But simultaneously there is also an issue that once the law is made and thought process law made, then people must learn to follow it. And the whole concept of jugaad cannot go beyond a stage. You can't have jugaad in everything. You can't do something by breaking the law and say, look, this is how we are adept at it.